Okay, really quick overview here because I don't want to mess up my camera. I don't want it out here with my bluing tanks. I've got our little knurling tool all disassembled and in tanks here, getting ready to blue it, and a couple of little projects that I had going on, but neither here nor there. What I've got is a pre-cleaner tank. That's what you see steaming off there. It's up to a little over 150 degrees. They say, you know, depending on what cleaner you're using, but anyway, it's a little over 150 degrees. Normally I'll run them 100 to 150, something like that. Tank right in front of it is a boiling water tank. There is our actual bluing tank, just about up to temperature. We're starting to show a boil, but I haven't run them for a while, so it's absorbed a little bit of moisture. And it's not quite up to temperature yet. We got to let that boil off, so we'll have to adjust that a little bit. Right here down here is my oil tank that everything will go in behind it, and I've got a cold water rinse tank over here behind me. So anyway, that's where we're at. I'll maybe show you a little bit, although like I say, I don't want to mess up my camera at all here. So Alright guys, well we finished our little bluing project. We've still got them in the baskets. I'm going to unpack them out of the baskets just like they came out of the oil bath. There's a couple of little projects in there that I'm not really going to get into at all. They're personal projects of mine. So gun related stuff, and that's not what really this is about. So anyway, I've got the pieces here that go back on. The only thing that I don't have is I still have to pick up a couple of stainless countersunk screws, Allen head countersunk screws, to hold the locking plates for the pins for the knurls on. I blued up the ones that were in there, the blued ones, but we're putting stainless hardware back in, so I've got the other little bit of other stainless hardware, but I didn't have, I grabbed the wrong stuff when I was over there this morning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unload stuff out of the baskets onto the paper towel here. We'll go back and wipe them off, oil them down, and then we can assemble them. Now the stainless stuff, I went ahead and ran them through the tanks, and they won't normally take a bluing, which I don't expect them to, but as they go through the cleaning tanks and then the bluing tanks, it cleans them up exceptionally well. Any crap that's on there, why, it just does a real good job of cleaning them off, and since it doesn't take me any more time, any more effort to do it, why, we just go ahead and normally I'll run stainless parts through the bluing tanks exactly the same way. So that's what they come out looking like, just out of the hot oil tanks. Stainless rod there. There's our stainless little cap. Now at the end of all of this, I'm going to assemble this, but I'm not going to run it right now. Well, before I disassembled it and blued it, I went ahead and ran some test parts off of this. So I'll show you those once we get this back together and show you what it looks like. And this will leach a little bit of oils and stuff out over the next few weeks type of thing. When you look at these, well, you notice these paper towels have gotten kind of grungy. That's drag out from the bluing salts. These salts I've been using for several months now, and as you use them, why, unless they're running constantly, which most guys are not unless you're a manufacturer, why your bluing salts will pick up crap and stuff out of the air. It has to do with the water that you're using to fill your tanks and the type of salts you use and all that, but it will pick up some smut out of there, and it doesn't hurt a thing. It leaches out, it washes down as you clean things up. So it's something I expect to see after a third or fourth time I've run the tanks, why there's enough crap built up in them that you get that drag out. Like I say, it doesn't hurt a thing. If you get something that's an assembly like this, where we've already put stuff together, if as time goes on you see a little white crust coming out of there, that means it wasn't boiled long enough. When whoever blued it didn't boil it in their bluing tanks long enough to get all those salts out of there, out of those cracks and crevices. So that's not kind of a sign of a quick and dirty bluing job, kind of a poor quality setup. So we try and do a little bit better. These screws I'd converted to 632s, and I meant to pick up a couple of stainless ones, and I grabbed the wrong ones when I was over there. And once I get this all assembled, I'll oil it up and wipe it down again. I like to leave a little coating of oil on fresh bluing salts, or on fresh bluing. They remain soft for, about a month. I tell everybody not to hit them with anything that's got a rust inhibitor in them or anything like that for at least a month. I think after a couple weeks, why, they're fine. But the longer it sits and cures, the better off they are. Now I polished some of these edges up. I wanted them to be fairly smooth. A lot of the stuff like these outer plates and things, I left the faces that had the mill scale on them or had the rough finish. I left them just not to change dimensions. And you know, you can polish all this stuff out, but at some point you also have to realize that it's a tool that you're going to use. So where do you stop? Now, if we can get this to show up here. Find out where we are. There's our engraving on it. You can see, especially in the middle, that scale that was left on the surface. But there's our engraving. That's plenty deep. Arms are the same way. They've got that scale on the outer edges. You know, you can, when you get something like a kit like this, why, the size stock you got's already pretty close to size sometimes, as it was in this case. So it's really hard to shave off all that mill scale and have a perfectly smooth finish. Now, I'd actually contemplated, and we talked about it, or I talked about bead blasting these or sand blasting them. And for a functional tool, that's probably actually a better setup than trying to polish them anyway. It holds the oils a little bit better, holds lubrication, and it won't wear off as fast. If you've got a real smooth finish on these, like the radiuses on these arms and stuff, if you're banging them around and everything, why, they're gonna wear through that bluing or wear through whatever finish you've got, no matter what it is. So you're almost better off to sandblast them. But we had enough time and effort into this project. I thought it was a little bit nicer to have a little bit smoother finish on them. So there's all our parts. So I think we can go ahead and assemble this and see what it looks like. So where do we start? Where do we start? Where do we start? This bushing will go into this arm. It's supposed to go into this arm. And we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, because all of these bushings were a little bit loose, or just a light press fit. We're going to add a little Loctite to the out edges of them, so we got to get some acetone to clean up these bores. We're going to have a bushing in there. Let's get that cleaned out. We're going to have a bushing in here. We're going to have a bushing in here. We're going to have this Loctited in. We're going to have all of these bushings wiped down. Knob Loctited on there. And the inside of that. And we're using Loctite 680 as a retaining compound today. We're going to have this bushing. A little bit of hydraulic oomph on there. We're just going to clamp this in the vise just to let it set up a little bit. So that will go there. And this will go on here. we go. This one goes through here. So are both of these bushings the same size? Okay, we're going to say we want them just like that. So this one will go here. And this one will go in here. Just like that. Now we'll let that set for just a few minutes. That assembly will go just like that. I think we'll go ahead and install our knurls. This little block sits right on there. This one goes in here like this. Okay, just Loctited our little stud in there. Our arm has to go together there and there. This one has to go in here with our pin going all the way through it. Just like that. And this will set on here. This goes back in between. Okay, once we've got that, we line up our insides there. That one will go in there. There's engaged. There's disengaged. Okay, so there's disengaged. There we've engaged it. I believe that's the way it goes. That's the way it looks. All done. We'll have to set it back up on the lathe. I did run some knurls with it, and we'll put that clip in here. I'm very, very pleased with that. As far as the knurls that it produces, These are the straight knurls. They look just like that. And this is a good set of knurls that I got from Hemingway, and they did a very nice job. And the reason I cut these off, I just ran both ends, and this is stainless steel. What I will do is I will change out this knob. This has got a diamond knurl on it, and we'll go ahead and cut these down, one of these down, and make a straight knurl so it matches the straight knurls on the rest of the tool. So anyway, there's what it looks like. Hopefully you find that interesting. I said I would discuss Hemingway with it, or how this project went. I won't buy another kit from them. They left me stuck with they sent me these shit knurls, this set, and I showed these before in a previous video. If you haven't seen the close-ups of this set of knurls, why, go on back through this series, and I'll try and put a link up above for them. About these knurls, I think, one of these knurls is fine. The other one was either a used knurl or else a reject off of, that didn't pass muster because it's got double lines. It's the spacing on it's crap. It's not going to produce a good knurl. So anyway, they've chosen not to do anything about that. So I won't. I don't feel the need to support them. Bad service gets bad reviews, and their communication sucks. So I think this is a fine tool. I love their prints. Both of the tools that I've got their prints for are very fine. Very nice prints. They're, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to frame them, and they're going to be office art, there at the shop. So I think they're that good, but their communication is basically non-existent. Service or quality control for parts that they're purchasing, and they don't produce those. They bought those from an outside source or have those produced by an outside source. So quality on them is poor, and they chose not to stand behind what they sold. So they don't get my business. I've got the rotary broach kit from them, and I am going to do that. I'm probably not going to do those on YouTube. I feel that would be supporting them, and that's not. If you can't get good service from them, why, I don't want to promote it to you guys and say, yep, this is a good product, because while the kits may be good kits, if it's not right to start with, you're going to be screwed. And I had somebody else that had commented on the suggestion that said that they had the same experience with it. So I think if you're probably in the UK, I think you're going to get, maybe better service, and probably you're not going to have these issues to get them shipped here in the United States. Why, that's not, they've apparently chosen to just take our money and do nothing about it. So that's kind of the way I feel about that. So, and that comes back to the same old thing, the stuff that I sell. I've had guys wanting me to ship them, across the world, and I hesitate to do that, and that's part of the reason. Things get screwed up in communication, things don't happen, things get lost. And if it's somebody here in the States and I paid for it, or they paid for it with their credit card, something they bought from me, if there's a problem, they can go back and contest that. Like the tool, does a good job. Hate the service, think it sucks. So anyway, hopefully you find that interesting. I hope you've enjoyed this, even though it's been long. All right, well, I already had everything all put away and was ready to quit for the day, but I thought, well, I'll cut a test knurl. So I've cut one on this end. This is a piece of stainless. This is the same material that I built this out of. So what I will probably do is I'm going to go ahead and knurl the other end of this too, and I will build another one of these knobs probably, just because it's got the same straight knurl that matches everything else. So I think we've got it pretty well figured out here. We're in back gear, so we don't want to come out of there quite as easily as we should, but let's turn this around. We're just going to knurl the other end. We're already set, so this should be a relatively easy setup. Now I'm working around this side of the camera, so I've got no view of what's going on, or no access to what's going on at all. So that looks pretty good there. Let's get a little bit of juice on it here so it'll if I can get us all situated here. But there's the knurl that we just now turned. This is the first one I did on the other end of it. It's all yucky there, but yeah, that does a really nice job. So there, once again, hopefully you find that a little bit useful, interesting. Comments, suggestions, leave them in the comment section for me below, guys. And as always, thanks for taking the time to watch.